Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campia, and this is Open Mic, but a very special Open Mic for two very good reasons. Special reason number one, it's the first day of the new year. I hope you guys had a fantastic, fun, and safe New Year's Eve last night, having a good time with friends and family. And of course, it's also a special Open Mic because we're going to count down our top 10 worst films of 2018. Then I want to hear from you guys as to what were your worst films of 2018. But also, since this is Open Mic, it's then going to be open to anything you guys want to talk about. Any topic at all you guys want to bring up and have us discuss, that's what we're going to talk about. So I hope you guys are all having a great day. It's good to see all you guys in here. A bunch of you are already in the chat board. Spoder, Tabitha, Roger, Bill, Common Folk, Sihar. Hello, everybody. Good to see you. And we're going to get things going right now. And what are we going to start things off with here? Well, we're going to start things off with this. We're going to start off with me talking about the worst films of the year. Now, let me say this up front. There might be one or two that are not going to be on my worst films of the year list. And you're going to go, John, how could you not have this? Because there were a couple of films this year that just look so bad to me, I gave myself a pass to not go and see them. One such film is Holmes and Watson. Now, I love these guys. I love John C. Reilly. I love Will Ferrell. But that trailer was terrible. And then I heard the reviews were terrible. And I just didn't bother. So I'm going to do my top 10 worst films list. And a lot of you guys are probably going to scream at your computer monitors, John, how can you not have Holmes and Watson on your worst 10 films of the year list? That's why, because I didn't even bother seeing it. So take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. So without wasting any time here, let's go over to the first worst film of the year. And in the number 10 spot for worst film of the year, Wrinkle in Time. And you know, there is a disappointment factor with Wrinkle in Time, because this is a movie that had a lot of potential. It was based on some rich source material. You had a really good cast. And you had a tremendous filmmaker. And this is a movie that should have been really good. And we were excited about it. We couldn't wait to see it. And I walked in and I walked out going, that was such a freaking waste of time. Not just a waste of time, it was a waste of potential. Because this was a movie that had so much potential, good cast. And I forget the young girl who was the lead in it. She was great. But it just wasted so much time and so much potential. And I ended up walking out of theater just mad at it. So, yes, A Wrinkle in Time is my number 10 worst film of the year. Going into number 9, Disney is sweeping so far because the number 9 is A Nutcracker and the Four Realms. Again, wasted potential. Look at this cast. You have an incredible cast. Great rich mythology, recognizable IP. It looked gorgeous. Like, I remember seeing the first trailer for the movie, and while I had no idea what this movie was about, seeing the trailer, it did look gorgeous. So you had a lot of the pieces in place. For a really good, rich, fun movie, and it just ended up being a waste. Like, what could have been clever became cliche. What could have been a little bit edgy went very boring. And just by the end of it, you're like, I don't even buy into why any of these people are doing any of the things they're doing. And it was a tremendously disappointing film. So my number 9 worst film of the year is going to be A Nutcracker and the Four Realms. All right, let's go into our number 8 worst film of the year. Number 8 worst film of the year, Sherlock Gnomes. Now, this would have ranked even higher on our worst films of the year list, except for the fact that this is a movie that, had some charm. This was a movie that had some charm. And it had some fun to it. It had a little bit of humor here and there that kind of offset just how tremendously bad everything else about the movie was. And the movie was really, really bad. On just about every level. And, you know, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. I'm trying to remember who was that said this to me. It was one of my friends said to me, like, Sherlock Gnomes, the movie, was just basically, you could have just called the whole thing famous people doing voices of the movie, and that was pretty much it. So Sherlock Gnomes, while it had some potential to be kind of fun, and it had a few moments, it did, overall, it just ended up being a complete waste, and just not worth doing, just not worth watching at all, so it comes in there. All right, let's move on to number 7. And the number 7 spot right now is Mile 22. Talk about potential, okay? You had these guys. You had Mark Wahlberg and, I'm freezing on the name of the director that he does all of his movies with. Anyway, they put out 3 killer movies in a row together. 3 killer movies in a row together. And boom. They put out Mile 22. Yeah, it had a great cast. You bring in one of the guys from The Raid. You got Mark Wahlberg and Peter Berg. That's the name of his director. And Peter Berg making this thing together. Boom. It's going to be awesome, right? It's going to be fantastic. Ugh. Just sucked. Absolutely sucked. I hated this movie. That's Mile 22. All right. Let's move on to the number 6 worst film of the year. And the number 6 worst film of the year, just saw it recently, was Mortal Engines. This, look, you got Peter Jackson, and visually the movie is stunning, based on a popular novel series, and they did everything wrong. Everything wrong with that movie. Everything wrong. It's like, first of all, the marketing campaign made it out to be like it's a movie, because I never read the books, but it's a movie about predator cities that go and devour other cities. And that's in it for like 3 minutes of the movie. Then that has nothing else to do with the movie for the rest of it. It's this lame story with this weird, stupid twist at the end that made no sense with who her father is. It was just bad. Absolutely bad. Absolutely disappointing. And yeah, I hated this movie. Even though it was visually gorgeous. Like, they really did create a great world, which you expect nothing less from Peter Jackson. Visually gorgeous, just ended up being terrible. All right, let's move on to the next one. And the next one, The Predator. This might be the single, it's not the single worst movie of the year, but it might be the single most disappointing of the year. Because you had Shane Black directing it. I thought the trailers looked awesome. Shane Black was fresh off of doing The Nice Guys, which is an insanely good movie. So I was pumped, and I was telling everybody, you just guys wait, Predator's going to be so good. And I told you guys that for like 6 months. This Predator, trust me guys, this is going to be good. Shane Black's not going to let us down. Remember? I said that for like 6 months. Wah, wah. Then we go and watch it. It's like I never would have guessed that Shane Black directed that film. I never would have guessed in a million years. If I had watched that movie cold and not known Shane Black directed it, and somebody asked me afterwards, who do you think directed that movie? I never in a million years would have said Shane Black. But he did, and it was terrible, and it ends up there on our list. All right, let's move on now to the next one. Oh my gosh, talk about a movie that could have been pretty good and had the right casting and everything. Bruce Willis's Death Wish. What the hell? I mean, this is a movie that perfectly embodies this whole thing that's been going on with Bruce Willis for the last 15 years, that he just doesn't give a shit. Bruce Willis just does not care. And you can tell watching Death Wish that he completely was sleepwalking through this entire movie. And it has an effect on the entire, how you see everything else going on screen. And I believe Eli Roth directed. I like Eli Roth, and I like Bruce Willis, but the fact of the matter is, I think Bruce Willis sabotaged this entire film. Because you can just care. This is a guy that does not give a shit that he's in a movie. He doesn't care that some company is spending tens of millions of dollars to make this and paying him millions of dollars to be in it, and he just doesn't care. And you can just see it on the screen, and it's painful because we know he's a good actor. Death Wish was just terrible on every level. So yeah, Death Wish gets up there as well. Okay, let's move on to this next one. I was late to the party and I wasn't going to see it, but everybody said it was so bad that I had to go see if it was really going to be that bad. And it was. Robin Hood. Oh my goodness. Robin Hood. What can you say about Robin Hood? What can you say about a movie that is so brutally awful? poorly conceived from start to finish. I mean, look, and I was one of those guys who, when they announced, Taron Egerton was going to be starring in it, yay. Jamie Foxx is going to be in it, yay. Okay, and I heard even what the what the basic premise was going to be, and I was all for it. I'm like, sure, I didn't know that was going to be any good or not, but I was, yeah, okay, let's give this movie a shot. And they just kind of trounced all over everything. It's just a poorly made movie from start to finish. Robin Hood ranks right up there. All right. Now we get into our top 2 worst films of the year. And our number 2 worst film of the year, and some of you aren't going to like this because I know some of you probably have this in your top 10 favorite movies of the year, but to me, it was made by a bunch of 6-year-olds, and that's Sorry to Bother You. Sorry to Bother You was a movie I was really looking forward to. Now, I didn't know much about the director, Boots, so that had nothing to do with it, but I thought the trailers looked engaging. I love Lakeith Stanfield, who is in Atlanta, and he had a great role in Get Out as well. I think he's a great performer. I think he's really fun to watch on screen. And then, of course, you had Tessa Thompson in there as well. Danny Glover was in there. I couldn't wait to see it. And I watched it, and it's just visual garbage. The whole thing's just visual garbage made by 6-year-olds. And I had some people going, but no, John, you didn't get it. No, I got the symbolism, but it was the symbolism that 6-year-olds could have come up with. It was a fucking piece of shit. This movie sucks. Absolutely sucks. And I just cannot get over how bad and terrible this movie is. And it's one of those movies that, all film is subjective, of course. And there are movies that I watch and that I hate, but I can go, yeah, but I can see why somebody would like that. And I can watch a movie that I love, but go, yeah, but I can see why other people may not like that. This is a movie I do not understand how anybody pretends to like this movie. I don't understand it. That doesn't mean it's not valid. Doesn't mean that all film is, of course, is subjective. And if you like it, that's great. I'm just saying, I can't wrap my head around how anybody appreciated this total pile of shit movie. It's just, it completely boggles my mind. But anyway, that's my number 2 worst film of the year. Well, then what's going to be my number 1 worst film of the year? I see some people in there saying they think it's going to be Slender Man. Nope, Slender Man's actually one I took a pass on. That's one of the ones I took a pass on. Some people are guessing The Nun. No, I thought The Nun was bad. But it had some redeeming qualities. Not enough to make it a good movie. It's a bad movie, but enough to keep it off this list. So, I mean, look, the one, and I think when I bring it up here, I think you guys are all going to go, oh, yeah, because none of you are guessing it so far. But here it is. It is the worst movie of the year. 50 Shades Freed. Look, I'm not just putting 50 Shades at the top because it's the cool thing to hate on 50 Shades. That's not why I'm putting it at the top there. It truly is a laughing stock of a movie. It's truly a laughing stock of a movie. And like, I was being a little bit facetious with Sorry to Bother You when I said it felt like 6-year-olds made it. That was a little bit facetious, obviously. But with 50 Shades, I kid you not, 50 Shades Freed feels like, if you take the sex out of it, it feels like an 8th grade drama class gave the class some video cameras and said, go make a movie for your school project. That's the level of filmmaking talent that went into making 50 Shades Freed. Now, I'm not saying there aren't talented people who are involved with 50 Shades Freed. Clearly they are. But whatever it was that held their talent underwater and drowned it out of existence, I don't know what it was, but 50 Shades Freed was absolutely just completely brutal. Just completely brutal. It's not even so bad it's good. It's just so bad, it's, how did anybody greenlight this movie? All right, there are people who go out and see it because they love the books. Okay, fine. But man, they owed those people more. Those people who bought the books and loved the books, and I'm not one of them, but still, there is a loyal fan base who bought these books and loved these books. They plugged in, and she hired her own husband to be the screenwriter or something like. Anyway, it's just a comedy of errors. The whole thing is a giant comedy of errors. And there you go. So, once again, my top 10 worst films of the year: Wrinkle in Time, Nutcracker and the Four Realms, Sherlock Gnomes, Mile 22, Mortal Engines, The Predator, Death Wish, Robin Hood, Sorry to Bother You, and 50 Shades Freed. So there you go, guys. Now, I'm sure my list does not look like your list because all film is subjective. So I'm sure that your list is going to look a little bit different than my list, and that's totally good. Maybe some films on my list are some of your favorite films of the year, and that's totally fine too. But those are the ones that really stood out to me. Okay, guys, with that stuff out of the way, let's go over and start taking some live questions here. And I understand we're having some streaming problems right now. As you guys know, I am in Canada. I'm at the family ranch right now. We're in the middle of nowhere. And we have this really janky satellite internet that's pretty questionable. So I'm doing the best I can. I'm sorry if there's buffering and lag. I apologize for that, but I'm doing the best that I can. Sorry. Sorry to bother you. Anyway, okay. Let's go over and get on with the main question. Okay. The first question today is going to come to us from Vrinder Singh. And Vrinder Singh writes, watched Aquaman with the family this weekend. I really enjoyed it. For me, it's the best DCU movie so far, but my brother thought it was the worst film he had seen in ages. And that is the nature of Aquaman a little bit. I think the majority of us like it, but it's certainly not hitting it out of the park for everybody. Like I said the other day, Vrinder, I took my family to go see Aquaman the other day. I took my mom, my 3 siblings, Ray, Ann, and one of my sister's husbands. His name's Dan. And I took them all to go see it. Some of them liked it. Some of them didn't like it. Right? Some of them liked it. Some of them didn't like it. And that's just kind of the way it goes for some movies. I certainly don't think it's the best. I personally feel it's the 3rd best DCU movie. The best one is clearly still Man of Steel. The second best one, I think, is Wonder Woman by a little bit. And then I think it's Aquaman. But I'm glad you had a good time with it. But again, Vrinder, like you liking it, your brother not liking it, I think that's kind of representative of how a lot of people are responding to the film. I had fun with it, though. I've seen it 3 times in theaters. I'll probably see it at least one more time in theaters. All right. Let's see. Tom Gillard writes, John, have you seen The Gun? What did you think? It's my second favorite movie this year behind Searching. Oh, I liked it. Robert Redford, Sissy Spacek in that as well. By the way, Black Klansman, which was my number 2 favorite film of the year, starring John David Washington. John David Washington, who is Denzel Washington's son, is also in Old Man and the Gun. I thought it was really good. There are times that I felt it lacked a little bit of pace. Movies can be slow, that's fine. As long as, even if it's slow, you can feel the cadence of the film. I felt there was a little bit of pacing issues with Old Man and the Gun. Very good film. I mean, it didn't make my top 10 or anything like that, but I thought it was a very good film. I enjoyed it. If you haven't checked, and by the way, it's supposed to be supposedly Robert Redford's swan song. Hollywood iconic, legend, all time, great Robert Redford. Old Man and the Gun apparently is supposed to be his last movie, at least as an actor. So if you haven't checked it out, then at least for that reason, you need to at least check it out. So take Tom's advice there and go check that out. All right. Vrinder Singh follows up with, The Predator might not be the absolute worst movie of 2018, but it was the most disappointing. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly what I said. And you typed that in before I even said it. Easily the most disappointing because I had high hopes. Not just high hopes. I had high expectations for this movie. I had high expectations. I expected great things from this movie. And it was horrible. Yeah, a couple of cool elements. Yes. The violence was great. But, I mean, that doesn't make up for just a terrible movie, though. And I'm going to go right along with you there, Vrinder. May not be the worst, but it's one of the 10 worst. But it is, to me, I think easily the most disappointing. I don't think any other movie this year disappointed me more than The Predator, because I thought, and I told people, this movie's going to be good. You watch, this movie's going to be good. So much for that. All right, Murray Reich writes, awful movie endings. Den of Thieves, yeah, that was a pretty bad ending. Sicario 2, definitely a bad ending. Jurassic World 2, yeah, that was pretty bad. But worst that I've seen overall, which is also disappointing, is Mile 22. Yeah, and again, it challenges The Predator for most disappointing because, again, Peter Berg, Mark Wahlberg, they put out 3 great films in a row together. Then they bring in the guy from The Raid, high-intensity action film. We're thinking it's going to be great. Far from it. Far from it. I still put Predator as the most disappointing, but probably nibbling on the Predator's heels for that title spot of most disappointing would be Mile 22. I mean, oh, what a waste that movie was. Just really, really too bad. Again, because those guys were on such a good streak. Such a good streak. Anyway, Vrinder Singh writes, by the way, wishing you and your family a very happy new year. May all your wishes come true. Thank you very much, Vrinder. I hope you guys have a great New Year's as well. Let's get things started off well. I'm starting off I'm a little sick right now, you can tell, but that's fine. I'm visiting family. I'm up here in Canada. Gonna go, actually my dad let me know just a couple months ago that he and my mom bought a cottage. They're like, we're both retirement age. Now we're going to get some, and they're going to drive us up to their cottage later today. So me and Ann are going to go see the cottage today up here in Ontario. So I'm looking forward to that. Good start to the new year so far. All right. Ben Rayner writes, my good, not great list. 1, Tag. 2, Ocean's 8. I liked Ocean's 8. 3, Black Panther. 4, Ant-Man and the Wasp. 5, Creed. 6, Incredibles 2. 7, Crazy Rich Asians. 8, Mary Poppins Returns. 9, Won't You Be My Neighbor. And 10, Mission Impossible Fallout. Well, a couple of those, Ben, I would say are great. Like, Won't You Be My Neighbor was great. I thought Mission Impossible 6 was great. But whatever, we're on the same team. You like them, I like them, it's all good. And yet Tag is one of those films, I've been talking a lot about it this year. Tag is a movie that's really stuck with me. It's not like a brilliant movie. It's not on my top 10 all-time favorite comedies or anything like that, but it's one that's really stuck with me. It's a nice little film. And I'm really glad, because Tag actually came up yesterday on my top 10 favorite movies of the year list. Some people mentioned Tag a couple of times, and I'm really glad to see that, because it's a movie I believe deserves more affection. It's a sweet, funny, irreverent, kind of touching movie all at the same time. I just really liked it. And the video footage they play over the end credits just made the movie even better, if that's even possible. I won't tell you what video footage they play, just in case you haven't seen it yet for yourself. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Tag there, Ben. All right. Orange Hand writes, in your opinion, are visually great but poor story films, example, Mortal Engines, worth seeing on the big screen for visuals alone? Or does screen size not really matter? Well, here's what I would say, Orange Hand. Screen size matters when it comes to great visuals. Now, here's a great example. Like my dad's got like a 70-inch TV downstairs, and Wonder Woman was on last night. So my mom was watching Wonder Woman, and when the movie ended, my dad said, I saw that in theaters with your mom because your mom wanted to see it. And I'm like, yeah. He goes, it just looks shitty on a TV. Like, and it's true. It doesn't look anywhere near as good because they do these visual effects with the projection and the resolution and everything of a movie screen in mind when they do it. It just doesn't look as good. It just doesn't look as good. And so I will say yes. Here's the thing, though. No matter how good a movie is visually, if the story's not there, and if the visuals do not serve the narrative, and it's a bad story and it's a bad movie, then even the best of visuals can just become visual noise. Mortal Engines is a great example of that. It is beautiful visuals, but beautiful visuals will not save a bad movie. They give you something pretty to look at to pass the time as you're looking at your watch and hoping that the movie ends pretty soon, but it doesn't make up for it. So I would say if the movie's bad, it's not worth going. Now, if you're somebody who you're like me and you have a visual effects background and you're really just enthralled with great visual effects, maybe for you it would be worth it. In general, though, I would say, nah, not worth it. Not worth it. That's just my opinion on that. All right, let's move on here. KW Garrett 83 writes, sorry, Beale Street was one of the worst films I saw this year. Oh, that's too bad you feel that way. Good elements, criminal justice message, the acting, the first 20 minutes was crazy, in-laws. KW follows it up with, then the movie stalled narratively. There were like 20 close-up shots of smiling faces as jazz music plays. It was too slow and nothing happened after the first 20 minutes. I looked at my watch constantly. Well, see, that's, okay, look, how I will respond to that, KW, is, first of all film's subjective. If that's the way the movie hit you, that's the way the movie hit you. And that's the subjectivity of film. How I would respond to that from my own personal experience with it was if Beale Street Could Talk is a great example of movies can be slow and yet have cadence. I found this movie had a definitive cadence to it. And I think the movie in and of itself really became more of a character study than anything else. It was really looking at the soul of the people involved in the story more than the story itself. The people themselves became the story, if you will, to me, carried by some dynamic, incredible performances. That's why If Beale Street Could Talk got an honorable mention from me yesterday for one of my favorite films of the year. But look, nothing that you're saying about If Beale Street Could Talk is necessarily untrue. Nothing that you're saying is necessarily untrue. Did such and such happen in the first 20 minutes? Yes. Were there close-ups of smiles? Yeah, that's all true. But it struck you in a different way than it struck me, because it struck me in a very artistic, but an artistic way that furthered the look at the characters and being there with the characters. So on that level, it worked for me. But hey, it didn't work for you, and there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, If Beale Street Could Talk, definitely one of those films that is, to me, a film that I can go, I loved, but I can totally see why not everybody did. And that's what If Beale Street Could Talk is. It's one of those movies to me. And clear because it worked for me, and clearly it didn't work for you, but I could see why it didn't work for you. All right. Let's move on here. Justin McFarlane writes, worst movie I saw this year was The Nun. Awful. Yeah, well, I agree that it was awful. I do. The problem is, I thought there was enough redeeming elements to keep it from being a complete pile of garbage. And not quite. Now, trust me, when I was putting together my list of the 10 worst, I came up with an initial list of about 25 films. And The Nun was on that list, that first round that I did before I started eliminating films off the list. And The Nun was on there. The Nun was on there. But I just didn't think it was as bad as Robin Hood. I just didn't think it was as bad as Mile 22. I just didn't think it was as bad as Nutcracker in the Four Realms. I didn't think it was as bad as a lot of those other films that I had on the list, and so it didn't make it down to the top 10. But a bad film? Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. It was a bad film. All right, Ben Rayner writes, in Vice, it was not a moment, but the performances that made it great for me. I think the Oscar is going to come to either Remy for Bohemian Rhapsody or Bale for Vice. I wouldn't be surprised. Look, a great performance can only elevate a movie so much. Bale is fantastic in Vice. He's fantastic. I don't necessarily. He's going to get a nomination. I don't believe I nominated him for a Filthy. I don't think I nominated him for a Filthy. So I don't think he's going to get, the John Campea Filthy Award. Rami Malek's a strong contender, though. Rami Malek is definitely a strong contender. By the way, I don't dislike Vice. I don't dislike it. I think it's good. But I just find myself, I think the last time I checked, Vice had like a 65%. And I remember when I saw the critic rating, I went, yeah, that's roughly right. That's roughly right. It's good. I liked it. Bale's great. As you would expect, Sam Rockwell's great. Steve Carell's great. Amy Grant. I keep saying Amy Grant. She's an old gospel singer. Amy Adams, is great. And the performances are solid. But you can give the best performances if you don't have the right movie to build them around. It can only elevate the movie so much. At least that's how I felt in Vice. So anyway, that's just my thought on that. But a lot of people are loving Vice a lot. It might even get an Oscar nomination. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Okay. Let's see. Your Best Bet writes, Sorry to Bother You was the year's worst. Dishonorable mention, Hereditary. Oh, I thought Hereditary was great. Hereditary is on my top 10 list. And Sorry to Bother You, again, you just saw as my number 2 worst film of the year. I don't get it. I don't get how anybody liked that movie. And that's fine. All film is subjective, so I don't need to get it. So that's totally fine. I'm just saying, unlike certain movies where I can go, okay, I didn't like that movie, but I can see why you would. I just can't do that for Sorry to Bother You. I just can't. I wanted to. I wanted to be one of the cool people who like the movie, but it's steaming garbage. It is steaming garbage. I hated that film, but well, whatever. Okay. Charles A. writes, Did you see Blind Spotting? If yes, what do you think? Yeah, I've talked about Blind Spotting a few times. David Diggs, and I'm trying to remember his name because the guy who plays his buddy who gets him into trouble, I believe is his real life. I think they're real life best friends, and right, like I believe they wrote and produced this movie together as well. And it's an excellent film. Didn't make my top list. Excellent film though. I felt it was a little overstuffed sometimes. Like there were times in Blind Spotting I just felt like they were trying not terrible, but Jurassic World 2 and Solo were the worst I saw. Oh, I got to disagree with you on both of those, Lyle. I got to disagree with you on both of those. Not that I thought Jurassic World 2 was great, but I do think Jurassic World 2 or Jurassic World: The Fallen Kingdom, I do think Jurassic World: The Fallen Kingdom was the second best Jurassic Park movie. Granted, that's not saying much because the only really good one is the first one, but so I thought it was enjoyable. I certainly liked it more than the first Jurassic World. It wasn't great. I didn't think it was good, but I enjoyed it. Solo, I thought was great. Didn't make my top 10 list or anything like that, but I thought Solo was great. I thought that was a fun, great space adventure film. I just can't give that movie enough props. I thought what Ron Howard did with Solo was amazing, to be quite frank with you. And I was expecting a little bit more of a mess. Because of the whole director turnover and everything, I thought what Ron Howard did with that film was remarkable. So I thought it was really quite good. Snake Jerusalem writes, you should play Horizon Zero Dawn for PS4, a post-apocalyptic world where mankind reverted back to primitive tribes and get hunted by mechanical beasts. It sounds interesting. I've never played any of Horizon Zero. Is this a series of games or is this like the first of its kind? I'm not really sure. I've got a long list. Like I got to finish Spider-Man when I get home. I'm barely 5% into that game. Then I got to do God of War. And then I got to do Red Dead Redemption 2. And then I'll try to find one. So my dance card for my video game playing is kind of stacked right now. But I'll see if I can get around to that soon enough. All right. Let's see. ZOMG Ruler writes, best bad movie of 2018, Venom. Happy New Year, John. I didn't even think Venom was bad. I think Venom was a good, fun film. Not great, but a good, fun film. And it had its weaknesses. It definitely, you guys have heard me talk about it before. I thought the first act of the film was handled too slow. I thought they should have gotten to Eddie and Venom together. You didn't have to get Eddie and Venom together in the first 5 minutes, but maybe within the first 15 or 20. Like a full half hour or 40 minutes in the movie before Venom and Eddie combine. And I thought you should have had better pace on that. And it was a very underwhelming villain. But other than that, I thought it was really a fun, entertaining film to watch. I thought it was a delightful film to watch. And I remember I saw it in theaters 3 times, and every time I saw it, the audience gave it a raving ovation at the end of it. Everybody just had fun. So I wouldn't even call it, it's not one of the best movies of the year, but I wouldn't call it the best bad movie because I quite frankly thought it was a good film. Not bad, not great, but good. I thought it was good. I thought it was a win for Sony. All right. Let's see. The other black guy writes, worst of the year, Holmes and Watson. Again, I have spared myself from seeing it, so I don't know. Fantastic Beasts. Sorry to bother you. I want those hours of my life back. I'm not a powderhead, but I'm going to disagree with you on Fantastic Beasts. The Crimes of Grindelwald. I liked it. I liked the movie. I thought it was good. I thought Johnny Depp, oddly enough, I thought was the best part of the movie. Did it have script issues? Yep. You got J.K. Rowling to thank for that, because she wrote the script for it. Was it the best Harry Potter movie? No, but I went to go see it with, oh crap, now I'm freezing on who I went to go see it with. I saw it with a friend of mine. Which one? Oh, Cody. I saw it with Cody, of course. Cody Miller. The Olympic gold medalist. How do I freeze on Cody? The Olympic gold medalist. He and I went to go see a special screening of it, and he and his wife are crazy Potterheads. Crazy Potterheads. And he liked it too. So me, not a Potter fan, I liked it. Him, a crazy Potterhead, he did like it. So, there you go. But again, all film is subjective. If it didn't work for you, man, it didn't work for you. But I'm right with you on... sorry to bother you. And I spared myself from Holmes and Watson. I might see it when I go home. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. All right. I'm Upset writes, my worst 5, Night School. I didn't think it was very good, but I wouldn't put it in my top 5. But 4, Pacific Rim 2. Yeah, it was bad. Nobody's Fool, Wrinkle in Time, number one, Predator. You know what? Pacific Rim, remember I told you I made that like a list of 25, right? To start my top 10 list. And then I winnowed it down from there. Pacific Rim 2 was one of the films that was on that list. But I had enough moments of enjoyment in it that I just couldn't keep it into the top 10. So that's why it didn't make it for me, but not a good movie. It was a bad movie. It was a bad movie. I'm upset. So I could totally see why you put that on your list. All right. Edgar Navarro writes, I wasn't able to give my top movies yesterday, but my 5 are 5 through 1. Love, Simon. Oh, I enjoyed that movie. Love, Simon was really a nice little film. Crazy Rich Asians. Yeah, I like that one too. A Star is Born. Obviously, my top 5. Spider-Man. Into the Spider-Verse. That was in my top 5. Infinity War. That was my number 6 film. Happy New Year. Well, thanks for sharing your top list. And for those of you who maybe didn't see it yesterday I gave my top 10 list of the year. So you can go and check that out if you want to go see it. So thanks for sharing your list, Edgar. Appreciate that, man. And then Edgar follows up, in my worst films of 2018 are Bumblebee. Really? Oh, I thought Bumblebee was great. Bumblebee's great. Robin Hood, Mission Impossible 6, really, Mile 22, and Death Wish. It's funny because you've got a bunch of films that are also on my worst list, but you got a couple of films that made it into my top 10 or at least honorable mention of the year list. And Bumblebee was one of my honorable mentions. Didn't make my top 10, but it did make one of the honorable mentions. Oh, thank you, honey. I'm still working on this one, but I'll do that one, then this one. Anne just brought me some tea because she knows I'm coughing. Thank you, baby. So anyway, so it's funny. So there's a subjectivity film, right? You got some films that are some of my favorites of the year, but then some of them that we totally agree on are some of the worst as well. I find it interesting that you didn't like Bumblebee or Mission Impossible 6. Interesting. Okay. I'm Upset writes, Happy Time Murders and Den of Thieves. Oh, you're saying for honorable mention. I unabashedly love Happy Time Murders. I love that movie. It is a completely divisive movie. It is one of those movies that you will not like. You will either love it or you will hate it. And I could totally see why you would fall on either side of the fence. Me, it hit me in the right way. So I loved it. I watched that film, just loved it. Had a great time with it. The humor clicked for me right away, and I was laughing the entire way through the movie. But I didn't do that for everybody. It's like I said, you either love this movie or you hate it. You kind of knew that was coming from the trailer, because the trailer was one of those things where you either love the trailer or you hated the trailer, right? Nobody liked the trailer for Happy Time Murders. You loved it or you hated it. And that totally carried through into the movie as well. Den of Thieves is interesting because Den of Thieves was pretty solid for the most part. And then it all just kind of flies apart in the third act. And it's a movie that I walked out of going, I could have really enjoyed that movie. I could have really enjoyed it. It ended up being a letdown. I thought Gerard Butler was quite strong in it. I don't like 50 Cent as an actor, but I thought he was pretty good in it too. Yeah, it could have been. So to me, it didn't end up being very good, but I wouldn't personally put it as an honorable mention for worst. But yeah, the ending kind of made it fall apart. Let's see. Sean Shackelford writes, The Crimes of Grindelwald was the worst movie of the year. The baby switching scene was so dumb. I honestly thought it was a joke. The writing was awful. Well, I do believe it has some writing issues, but again, I ended up liking the film. As a non-Harry Potter, well, I don't dislike the Harry Potter stuff. I like the Harry Potter stuff, but I'm not a Potterhead, right? I watched that movie and thought, yeah, pretty good. Not bad. Pretty good. But again, it had its problems, and it has had a major problem getting people on board with it, even though I enjoyed it. And I know a number of people who enjoyed it, but it certainly did not work for everybody. And that's something they're going to have to deal with moving forward. I think they got to take a good, hard look in the mirror as they're prepping for their next film. And, the movie's profitable. The movie made money, so they're going to make the next one. But, I think JK needs to step back and say, look, I'll write the 10-page story outline, all right? I will write a 10-page story outline for the movie, and then we will hire a professional screenwriter to actually then write the script. Because the Harry Potter films with these two recent Wizarding World movies with Newt Scamander have suffered as far as screenwriting. J.K. is a novelist. She's not a screenwriter. And that's become evident. And one is not the same as the other. Some people think, writing novels and writing screenplays is exactly the same. No, it's a really different tool set. It's a really different tool set. J.K. has shown she is excellent in one, not so excellent in the other. And I think she may need to consider stepping down from writing the screenplay for the next one. Write the story, write like a 10, 15 page outline, and then hand that off to a screenwriter to actually then flesh it out and write it out. That might be something they need to look at. Let's see here. Abraham Asif writes, worst, Mamma Mia 2 and Aquaman. I'm fully aware I'm in the minority on this one. Disappointing. Cloverfield Paradox. First two are incredible. Cloverfield Paradox was awful. But it got dumped on Netflix, so I didn't even include it on my list. If I was considering it, it may have made my top 10 list, but it got dumped on Netflix, never hit the theater, so I didn't even count it. It was awful. Mamma Mia 2, I thought was great. Me and Ann left that thing humming and tapping our feet, and we put on, old ABBA songs when we got in the car after. I thought it was great, and I enjoyed Aquaman. But hey, man, that's the subjectivity of film. That you watched them, you had your experience with it, and it didn't work for you, and there's nothing wrong with that. All right, let's get on here to Leo Milmet. As I try not to choke to death. Leo Milmet writes, I got lucky this year. I skipped out on pretty much all the worst stuff, like Ant-Man 2. No, Ant-Man 2 is pretty good, man. Ant-Man and the Wasp is pretty good. It's a pretty good movie. And Solo, again, I thought Solo were great. Are probably my worst films of the year. But again, it's unfortunate because I think those two films are really fun films. I think they're both really good films. But hey, they didn't work for you. SJ writes, I didn't love Ocean's 8 or House with a Clock in Its Walls. I liked Ocean's 8 more than I thought I was going to. Again, not great. It wasn't great. I didn't come out recommending everybody go see it, not at all. But it was a little bit better than I thought it would. I thought that the chemistry was pretty good. House with a Clock in Its Walls was actually kind of a pleasant surprise to me. Because I thought it looked like absolute garbage. I thought A House with a Clock in Its Walls looked like unmitigated, completely awful, horrendous, steaming garbage. And I went to go see it, and it's like, you know what? This is all right. They do a bunch of things wrong in it, but I actually thought it was all right. I didn't love it, but I actually thought it was pretty good. All right. Let's see here. Leo Milmet writes, I missed Venom, Happy Time Murders, Holmes and Watson, Fantastic Beasts, Gaudy, Nutcracker, Wrinkle in Time, Mile 22, Death Wish, Truth or Dare, Peppermint. I would say see Venom, see Happy Time Murders, although it's a coin toss on whether you'll like that or not. Like I said, you're either going to love Happy Time Murders or you're going to absolutely hate it. I'm one of the guys who absolutely loved it, but a lot of people absolutely hate it. But I'd say give that one a shot if you get a chance, Leo. All right. Ali Hussein writes, I think Bumblebee is a reboot. The reason is on Michael Bay's Transformers, the Autobots landed on Earth in 2007, but on Bumblebee, they landed on Earth in 1987. That's more than enough to break canon, right? Yeah, but here's the problem. You can break canon without it being a reboot. You shouldn't, but you can. Look, the X-Men movies broke canon all the time. All the time they broke their own internal canon, every movie. Except for the first one, obviously. The first one started its own canon. But after the first movie, every single X-Men movie has some elements that are inconsistent with the rest of their movie canon. But they weren't necessarily reboots, right? There are a bunch of people out there who say, no, it's definitely a reboot. And there are people out there saying, no, it's definitely not. The fact of the matter is, Paramount and Hasbro have never given a definitive answer on that. I feel like they did this movie in such a way that if later they wanted to say it's all a part of the same universe as the other movies, they can. But it's also done in such a way that you can just say, no, this was a fresh reboot. We just borrowed some elements from the old series and brought it into this one. The truth of the matter is, because there are people, no, John, the director once said this. And then somebody else say, well, Michael Bay once said that. And then it goes, the fact of the matter is, and I have a little bit of inside knowledge here because it's Hasbro. The fact of the matter is, even they're not 100% sure what it is. They did it in such a way that they can go in either direction. But like, the thing is, Ali, I came out of the movie just as an audience member and how I reacted to it. I walked out of it feeling I just watched a reboot. That's how it felt to me when I watched it. And I didn't think they were going to make it a reboot at all. But yeah, when I first watched, my first instinct as an audience member coming out was that was a reboot. But if they go that way or not, who knows? We're going to have to wait and find out. All right, Godzilla Loves Sushi. I love that name. Hey, John, do you think Unforgiven is a sequel to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly? No, I don't think so. I mean, first of all, the characters have different names. But I mean, at the same time, I could totally see how you'd look at that. You could look at that and envision it in the same universe. Again, I don't consider it that. And by the way, if you guys have not seen Unforgiven, dear God, see Unforgiven. Unforgiven is so freaking good. But I believe I've never considered it a sequel to The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. But that's just me. I could be wrong about that, though. Samuel Pole writes, Bohemian Rhapsody, 2 hours for Brian May's ego. I don't think so. I think that movie was great. And I heard some people want to criticize it, and that's fine. I mean, that's the way you saw it. That's the way it hit you. I did not have that same experience. I just thought it was a wonderfully done. I thought it was a very balanced movie. I just thought it was put together in a very, really, really great. Did they take some liberties? Sure, they took some liberties, but all biopics do, because these aren't documentaries; they're movies. And I thought it was handled great. I really did. So yes. Okay. Let's see. Give me 1 second here. I just got to catch up. Okay. Now I see where I'm at. Okay. But I've lost my spot. Where is my spot? Oh, there we are. Sebastian writes, I said I canceled Netflix at $13.99 for AMC A-List. Got it. For AMC A-List, YouTube TV, Amazon Prime, and YouTube Premium. I may add back a $7.99 plan, but I can't count on Netflix. Well, I mean, I have them all. Like, I have Netflix and A-List and YouTube TV. And I believe, don't you get YouTube Premium for free when you get YouTube TV? Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I think you do. And I have Amazon Prime. I don't have Amazon Prime, though, for the videos. I have Amazon Prime because I order so much stuff off Amazon that it just saves me tons of money every year on shipping. Because I can't remember what the cost was, like $150 a year. I don't know. I more than triple my savings every year just from the sheer amount of stuff I order off Amazon. So that's why I have that. But I'll tell you what, Sebastian, if I was given an option, I had to pick one, where I could either have Netflix or I could have A-List, YouTube TV, and Amazon Prime, I'm doing what you did. I'm taking YouTube TV, Amazon Prime, and A-List for sure. So if somebody offered me those my only two options, either have Netflix or have all this other stuff, I'm taking all the other stuff. 100% I am. Dim Sum 05 writes, Wrinkle in Time and Crimes of Grindelwald should be renamed Ambien and Ambien 2 Electric Snoozaloo. Well, again, I mean, I agree with you on Wrinkle in Time. Not so much Crimes of Grindelwald. I thought Crimes of Grindelwald was actually pretty good. So, but Ambien and Ambien 2 Electric Snoozaloo. Of course, referencing the great breakdancing movie, Breakin' and Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo. Let's see. Chad, Big Huge Geek Commentary writes, call me crazy, John, but I enjoyed Ralph more than both Spider-Man and Incredible. Slender Man was my worst of 2018. Again, Slender Man, along with Holmes and Watson, are the two really notable ones that I skipped out on. Hey, look, the fact of the matter is, Ralph Breaks the Internet's great. I love that movie. I thought it was wonderful. So you're going to get no argument from me saying you prefer that one over some others. Now, clearly, I have a different order of that. I think Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse was not just the best animated movie of the year. I thought it was the number 3 best film of the year, period. only behind Black Klansman and A Quiet Place. So yeah, but again, I think Ralph is wonderful. So yeah, no rebuke from me. If you love that one just a little bit more than I do, great. I love anybody that will give some more attention to that movie because it deserves more attention than it's getting. It's a solid sequel, and I liked it quite a bit. All right, Tinnis Flado writes, you didn't like Disney movies. Don't they pay you? Well, I mean, I get that all the time. Don't you know that Disney and Warner Brothers pay me? Don't you understand that? And, you know, it's just, look, every studio does it. Pixar put out Cars 3. Warner Brothers puts out some crap. Paramount puts out some crap. Disney puts out some crap. I mean, they just do. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. Let's see. So you want to be an Imagineer writes, my bottom 5 in no particular order: The Nun, Nutcracker in the Four Realms, Winchester was pretty bad too. That was also on my list of 25. Action Point was also on my list of 25, and The Crimes of Grindelwald. Again, a lot of hate for Crimes of Grindelwald today. I thought it was good. A lot of hate for Crimes of Grindelwald, but I thought it was actually pretty darn good. But there you go. That's your list, man. By the way, I like the name, so you want to be an Imagineer. It's pretty cool. Let's see. Sebastian, I left Windows due to A-list. Oh, I left Widows. I thought I said Windows. What? You switched from a Windows PC because of A-list? What? I left Widows due to A-list. No offense to creators. I imagine what you mean is you felt okay to leave the movie because you didn't even really pay for it. You got it with A-list. I liked Widows. It wasn't as good as I was hoping. But my expectations may have been a little bit too high. I like the movie. But yeah, hey man, it is your prerogative. If that movie didn't work for you and you wanted to leave, then hell man, just leave. Hell yeah, just leave. All right. Let's see. Murray Reich writes, Meg was also a disappointment. Felt Jason was miscast. Oh, I'm totally with you on that. I was disappointed in the Meg. I didn't think the Meg was terrible. I mean, it was really close to 50-50 for me. I just slightly nudged towards thumbs down on it. But the biggest problem with the film, and I am a big Jason Statham fan. I love Jason Statham. I think that dude is awesome. However, it wasn't the right role for him. I agree with you. I thought he was miscasted. I completely do. Samuel Pole writes, my worst was Pacific Rim 2. Bad movie. It took all the amazing work Del Toro put into the first movie world and just wasted on it a bland blockbuster. You know, and again, it had elements. It had moments and it had elements. Like when the giant robots were fighting, hey man, that's great stuff. But it was too little, too few, too far between. The whole thing about the aliens now taking over the scientist dude, and yeah, it was a bad film. Again, not in my top 10 worst, but I'll agree with you, man. It was a bad film, and it did kind of waste a lot of what Del Toro did in the first one, which is kind of unfortunate. Sebastian writes, how about? Oh, sorry, we just had the big jump. Sorry, guys. Okay. Okay. How about your movie on best/worst list that year? I don't know what I don't know what you're saying, Sebastian. Sorry about that. He follows up with, okay, Wonder Woman / Aquaman lead DC forward. Batman? I don't know. I don't know that Aquaman will lead DC forward because my question about it is, as much fun as I had at it, and I've seen it 3 times, there are people there's a lot of people still who watch it and don't like it. It's nowhere near as divisive as, say, Batman versus Superman was or anything like that. Not at all. But do not confuse making some money right now at the box office with that meaning everybody loved it. They didn't. I mean, like I said, I've seen it firsthand. I've come out of the theaters multiple times where some people are like, oh man, that was so great. And then you hear these other people going, what a waste of time. And I had the same thing with my family. So, some of my family liked it. None of them loved it though. Some of my family thought it was kind of dumb, to be honest. So I don't know. We're just going to have to see where they go with something like that. But they're definitely going to make a sequel. You know they're going to make a sequel. And I, for one, am looking forward to it. K Major writes, hey John, they're re-releasing Jackie Chan Police Story 1 and 2. What is your favorite Jackie Chan movie? Drunken Master, Legend of the Drunken Master. I also really like, no, I was going to mention one of some North American ones, but no, I'm going to go Legend of the Drunken Master 2. I'll go Legend of the Drunken Master 2. Cornflakes writes, over under 99%. Wile E. Coyote ever gets the Roadrunner. You're saying 99% he get? Well, way under that. Way under. He will not get the Coyote's never going to catch the Roadrunner. Coyote will never catch the Roadrunner. Not even in the upcoming Wile E. Coyote movie. No way. NPE writes, thoughts on director Mike Leigh. Oh, God, man. I don't know. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Let me just look him up here quick. I don't even recognize the name, to be honest with you. Let's see. If you're talking about Mike Leigh, the same guy who directed, he directed Happy Go Lucky. Okay. I liked Happy Go Lucky. I haven't seen many of his other ones, though. I saw Secrets and Lies. I liked Happy Go Lucky, but I really haven't seen much of it. So I don't have enough of a base watermark to really have an opinion, to be honest. Tracy E. What does Tracy E write? Why did I lose Tracy E? Where is Tracy E? Here we go. Tracy E writes, the only bad movie I saw was Predator. I passed on the other movies on your list. I learned to wait at least 2 weeks when certain movies are released. Say what critics say. You should not let critics say dictate your decisions or determine what you're going to do, but it should be one of the things you take into consideration. Because I say this all the time. Going to the movies is an investment. You are investing time, which is valuable. You're investing money because you could buy your movie tickets. You're buying concession stand stuff. Like on an evening out at the movies, you can spend a lot of your resources in time and money. I never buy anything without researching it first to see what people are saying about it. Hell, I remember I was buying, one of these lights. I've got a little light here. It was only about $25, but I took like a week researching what all the, tech things were saying and all the lighting experts were saying about these particular lights. And I just wanted small, simple, portable lights I could put in my suitcase and bring them with me to Canada. And it doesn't matter if they get broke. And I look, because I'm not going to invest my money. My money's valuable. I'm not going to invest my money in something if I don't look in to see what people are saying about it. And seeing if they're worth the purchase. And seeing if it's a wise purchase. I'm not going to waste my money otherwise. And I think it's absolute folly because here's the thing. If you do not let critics be a part of your decision-making process, what you are now doing is willfully submitting your will to the corporate masters. That's what you're doing. Because the only thing you have to go on is the trailers. And what are trailers? Trailers are corporately produced pieces of propaganda meant to manipulate you into going to give them money. That's what a trailer is. I know trailers are fun things, but the reality is this. Trailers are corporately produced pieces of propaganda made specifically to manipulate you into giving them your money. So whenever somebody says to me, you should never listen to critics, I go, oh, so you just obey whatever the corporate overlords tell you to do. No, I wait to see if I like the trailer. Oh, you mean that piece of propaganda that was designed by the corporate masters specifically to manipulate you to give them your money. That's who you're going to listen to. That's the only voice you're going to listen to. You're only going to listen to the guys who are trying to take your money. That's the only person you're going to listen to. And again, let me emphasize this. You should never let what critics say dictate your decision. NPE 94 writes, I saw Roma on the laptop. Meh. Then I saw it in theater. Wow. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful piece of art. Roma. I just did not like the film. And again, a lot of people are saying it's one of their favorite films of all time. But it didn't click for me. It just didn't click for me. I wish it did, but it didn't. But no denying, especially in the black and white medium of it, It's beautiful. I mean, it's just beautiful to look at. And like we said a little bit earlier in the show, sometimes these things are just really, really beautiful to look at. You should be going to looking at them on the big screen in the theater because that's just where they look best. All right. Pablo follows up with, also, every Christmas I watch this movie called Arthur Christmas. I think it's a modern classic. Came out a few years ago. Severely underrated. I am not even recalling that one. Let me look this up. Arthur Christmas. With James McAvoy? Oh, it's animated. Oh, you know what? Okay, I never saw this movie, but I know the one you're talking about. I remember that one now. I never watched it, though. I never saw it, but you're saying it's good, huh? All right. I'm always looking for new Christmas season movies to watch. I'm going to put that on my list, Pablo. Thanks for the recommendation. I appreciate that. Okay. Let's go over here to Goku's Son Dragon Ball Z writes, for me personally, I feel like the worst movie of the year was A Wrinkle in Time. I found it boring, not great pacing. Also, the child actors were not good. I'm going to disagree with you on the child actors. I thought specifically the lead girl. I thought the lead girl was pretty strong. I did. I thought she was pretty strong. But you know, Wrinkle in Time made it. I just thought there were at least 9 movies that were even worse. Like I have a hard time saying to myself, Death Wish was better than A Wrinkle in Time. Oh no. Like I agree. Not great pacing. I agree. Is it a little boring? Yes. But I thought, while it is on my top 10 worst films of the year list for sure, I just thought, like, really? You thought Wrinkle in Time was worse than 50 Shades Freed? But maybe you're like me, though. Maybe all those other ones on my list you didn't get around to seeing. Good for you, if that's the case, man. But thanks for sharing your thoughts on that. All right. Dirk Diggler writes, Happy New Year, and Happy New Year to you, Dirk. If you and Anne had a son, what superhero name would you want to give him? Example, Clark, Bruce, Tony, Steve, etc. I'm leaning towards Luke. For obvious reasons, I'm leaning towards Luke. But I kid you not, it started off as a joke, but it's come up a few times. Commodus. Commodus is one that's come up a few times. Now, of course, that's the villain from Gladiator. But, I mean, it was played brilliantly. Right? By Joaquin Phoenix, Commodus. Let's see. What was the other one we were thinking about? We were thinking about Giovanni. Not necessarily to name it after me, but to name it after my grandfather. Oh, my wife's coming in.
Charles Xavier.
Oh, okay. When do you come in here and share that? And Anne has an idea that she wants for a name.
Charles Xavier.
She wants Charles Xavier. Also from Gladiator was Maximus.
Maximus is number 1.
And Anne says Maximus is number 1. Maximus Campia. So we like that one too. So yeah, there are a bunch of them there. But no, I don't think Clark or Bruce or Tony or Steve. Maybe Luke, Maximus, maybe even Commodus. We laughed at that one before. I guess Anne heard me talking about baby names, so she comes running in. And of course, Charles Xavier. So Charles Xavier could be one that actually ends up getting up there on that list. All right. Let's see. Where are we at here? Okay, Scott Dickens writes, Robert Redford is best actor left without an acting Oscar. Is that true? Does Robert Redford not have an acting Oscar? You know, it's funny because I can't think of what he would have an acting Oscar for, but he's just one of those guys that you just assume he's got an award, right? Because I know he's been nominated several times. Okay, so he was nominated for Best Actor in The Sting. He was nominated for... he's only been nominated for Best Actor once. He was only nominated for Best Actor for The Sting. He won an Academy Award, though. He does have an Oscar, but it wasn't for acting. It was for Best Director. He won Best Director for Ordinary People in 1980. He was also nominated for Best Director for Quiz Show. I love Quiz Show. And then in 2002, he received an honorary Oscar as well. So you're right. He does not have an acting Oscar, but he does have 2 Oscars on his mantle. So that's something to keep in mind. Punto Baby 1 writes, The Predator was the worst. It made Alien versus Predator seem okay. Worse than a frisbee, than a fiberglass thong. Enjoy The Family Man and congrats on a great 2018. Well, thank you so much for that, Punto Baby. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Predator's pretty bad. Awful sounding analogy, though. Worse than a fiberglass thong. It was pretty bad. I mean, look, I'll admit, it had its moments. There were few and far between moments. But all the few and far between good were in that R-rated Red Band trailer. With all the gore, but that was all of it. And the rest was just nonsense. The rest was just utter nonsense and terrible, terrible stuff. I'm sitting here and I still can't believe that Shane Black was the one who directed it. I still can't believe that Shane Black was the one who directed it. It's so disappointing, so heartbreaking, especially after seeing a movie like The Nice Guys, which was so damn good. Really disappointing after that. All right. Let's see here. NPE94 writes, Red David O. Russell has put Chris Nolan in a headlock, got in a fist fight with Clooney, and screamed at Lily Tomlin. Apparently the guy's a maniac. I have heard a lot of different things about that too. The Lily Tomlin one was kind of, that one made the rounds around Hollywood. I don't know that I buy that he put Christopher Nolan in a headlock. But then again, like Jennifer Lawrence just keeps going back to work with him. There are clearly people who work with him that love to get back and work with him more, right? That love to go back and work with him more. So yeah, Bradley Cooper's worked with him a number of times. Bale's worked with him a number of times. Jennifer Lawrence has worked with him a number of times. So, but I heard he could be a little bit of loose cannon. I heard he can be a little bit of loose cannon. All right. Roy L. writes, The Girl in the Spider Nest sucked. Upgrade, great. Upgrade was really good. Yeah, Upgrade was really good. It was very unexpected. Nice surprise film. I didn't think Girl in the Spider's Web sucked. I thought it was bad. I think Claire Foy's performance as Elizabeth elevated above garbage. But it was bad. I mean, it's all subjective, but to me, there's just no getting around it. The Girl in the Spider's Web is a bad film. Oh, sorry. Girl in the Spider's Web, A Girl with a Dragon Tattoo story. I mean, what were they thinking with that, by the way? Anyway, a Notorious LID, I like that name, writes, My worst were Show Dogs, Happy Time Murders, 1517 to Paris. Yeah, that was disappointing too, right? And I love the idea behind it. The whole notion of getting the actual people. There's a novelty factor to that. But then you watch and you realize, oh, there's a reason we hire professional actors to play these roles. I mean, yeah, that's got to bring up there too. But by the way, it's not my top 2 or 3 most disappointing, but that's got to get on the most disappointing list somewhere. Because you're right, Notorious. It was pretty bad, man. It was pretty bad. Murray Reich writes, another disappointment in 2018, the Steelers. Well, you know what's funny? The Steelers, as much of a drama-filled, rough year the Steelers had, they still got this close to making the playoffs this year. And it ain't easy to make the NFL playoffs. And they came this close. They got a really big win over the Patriots. The Patriots just seemed to own them and have their number. They had a really quality win over my Patriots. So, but yeah, it's disappointing. It is disappointing for sure. All right. Sebastian Trujillo writes, did you watch Bird Box already? Yes. Ann and I, the other day, we cuddled in. It was a rainy day in Canada, so we popped on Bird Box and watched it. Good movie. I don't necessarily think it's great. That was good, though. I mean, I thought Quiet Place did it much better. But it's solid. Yeah. It's one of the better, not the best, but one of the better Netflix movies I've seen was Bird Box. You know how there's that Black Mirror movie, The Bandersnatch, I think it's called. Bandersnatch, is that what it's called? Anyway, Somebody combined Bird Box and Bandersnatch and said, Bird Box Bandersnatch. Isn't that the name of the guy who starred as Doctor Strange? Doctor Strange starring Bird Box Bandersnatch. Yeah, that's close. It's close. Santos Henderson writes, Mortal Engines at the end went full star. Look, don't even. That made no sense. It made no sense, and there was no purpose for that. I'm not going to give anything away, just in case some of you still want to see the movie. But it was an awful, pouring urine over a pile of garbage pie at the end. I mean, you're right. It was just brutal the way they did that. Just brutal. All right, ZOMG Ruler writes, and by the way, guys, if you have not sent in a super chat at this point, please, no more super chats. Cutting off the questions. No more super chats. I want to be able to finish the ones that we've got in here. And then my family is waiting for us to go out and spend the day together. So, ZOMG Ruler writes, Venom is fun bad, like The Room on now. And we are going to go back now to Notorious LID. By the way, Notorious LID, you got the old school Minnesota North Stars jersey logo there. Rocking the classic. I like that. All right. My top 5 favorites 2018 were 8th Grade, Avengers Infinity War, Roma, The Favorite, First Reform. First Reform was really good too. I think Ethan Hawke, that's a good example of an actor elevating an already good movie. Like First Reform's already good. Ethan Hawke, though, in that movie elevated it even more. One of the, if not the best performance Ethan Hawke's ever given. Do not be surprised if he gets an Oscar nomination. Cheers to the new year. Well, thank you, Notorious LID. I appreciate that. And again, kudos to you for rocking that Minnesota North Stars logo. I like that. All right. Jeff Kunston writes, I love the list, but hope you don't cut it short today and rest. But I hope you cut it short today and rest your voice. I need you healthy. Yeah, me too. And we've already gone over an hour and 15 minutes, but I want to finish off the things you gave. But thank you so much, Jeff. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the concern, and my voice appreciates your concern as well. All right. Let's see. Eshe writes, most surprising movie of the year, Game Night. I loved Game Night. Game Night was my best pure comedy of the year. There are some other films that are slash comedies that were better, but as just this is a pure comedy genre movie. I thought Game Night was the best one of the year. So delightful. A little bit of a surprise, but you saw the cast, and I thought the trailers were good. So to me, maybe the best surprise of the year might be Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse, because again, I didn't even like the idea that they were making this movie, and then the trailers come out, and I don't like the art style, and and then I saw it as my number 3 movie of the year. So that would have to be up there too. But yeah, Game Night was a really nice little film. I enjoyed that a lot. You815 writes, Suspiria was too long. It was too long. And it's one of those movies that, I'll be honest with you, and the only reason I watched it, I was going to take a pass on it. But there's a girlfriend of mine who has some pretty cool taste, some very wacky taste sometimes, but usually pretty cool. And I think Suspiria was the remake was like one of her favorite films of the year, if not her absolute favorite film of the year. So I decided to check it out. And I'll be honest, I still don't know really what I think about it. I know I didn't hate it, and I know I didn't love it, but there's a lot of gray in between there, and I'm still not really sure where I am on that. So that's interesting. Okay. Let's move on here. And the next one. Let's see. Sean Shackelford writes, favorite Harry Potter movie. People love the David Yates ones, 5 through 8. I like the Chris Columbus film, the best, 1 through 2. 2 is my favorite of the 8. 8 is my favorite Harry Potter film. That's the one that I like the most. And it's remained that way since the Fantastic Beasts movies. And I like the Fantastic Beasts movies, but yeah, to me, 8 was the crescendo. You know what's funny, and I've mentioned this before, most people, their favorite Harry Potter film is Harry Potter 3. I believe that's Prisoner of Azkaban. That's actually my least favorite of the Potter films. I know, right? It's weird, but hey, we like what we like. Let's see. Oh gosh, more questions have come in. Okay. Ali Hussein writes, have you finished watching Marvel's Runaway Seasons 2? I think it was better than season 1. Love to hear your thoughts. Haven't even started watching it yet. That's one Ann and I need to watch together. We've been on family vacation. We haven't watched much TV at all, to be honest. We only got through one episode of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, season 2. We've only got through one episode of that, and we watched Bird Box. Other than that, we've just been relaxing, going out, shopping, spending time with family, seeing Toronto, all that kind of stuff. So, nope, but I cannot wait because I loved Runaway Season 1. Loved it. Cannot wait to watch Season 2. So, I'll get on that as soon as I can, man. Victor Watson writes, movies I'm looking forward to in 2019. Dumbo, Pet Sematary, Detective Pikachu, It Chapter 2, Glass, New Mutants, Shazam, Dark Phoenix. All movies I'm looking forward to as well. And don't forget, either later this week or early next week, I think it'll probably be later this week, I'm going to do my most anticipated films of 2019. That's going to come up in a show later this week. We're going to most anticipated for 2019. Cannot wait to do it. And I like your list, man, because I'm looking forward to all those ones as well. Victor follows up. I noticed a movie you like, How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, February 22nd release date. Well, I don't like it because I've never seen it. Yeah, I've never seen it yet, so I don't know that I like it. But I love the first two movies. And if How to Train Your Dragon 3 is on the same level as How to Train Your Dragon 1 and 2, holy crap. I mean, there's not a lot of competition, but second best movie franchise maybe ever, just behind the Toy Story ones. How to Train Your Dragon 1 and 2 are spectacular. I love them. Can't believe how much I like those. And 3 looks good. They saying this is going to be the final one. So let's keep our eyes open for that and see how that goes. All right. NPE94 writes, do you like Wallace and Gromit? I do. Yeah. I like Wallace and Gromit. I was watching that stuff, like, obviously when I was younger, but I do. And I even like the movie. And so, yep, I'm a Wallace and Gromit fan. Victor Watson writes, speaking of trailers, Detective Pikachu has my attention. Ryan Reynolds could have a big hit on this list. I'm definitely down to watch it. That trailer totally got me by surprise. Because when they announced that Ryan Reynolds is getting involved with Detective Pikachu, I'm like, why? Why? This is going to be so bad. And then the trailer came, the corporately designed piece of propaganda meant to manipulate me to get the money out of me. Fine, yes, that's what it is. But it still looked pretty good. It still looked pretty damn good. I was really shocked by how charming and funny I thought the trailer was. So, yeah, that one is surprisingly high on my list. Does it make my top 10 most anticipated films 2019? You'll find that out later this week. All right. Kid Zoom writes, Reg Alita, want anime? Do you want Hollywood to adapt? I'm sorry, Kid Zoom. I'm not quite sure what it is you're asking. Sorry about that, man. Victor Watson writes, Nutcracker in the Forum Realms, Mortal Engines, Robin Hood. These movies did really bad box office wise. Oh, it's true. They did. And they all deserved to do poorly. I mean, you never want to see a movie fail. At least I don't. I never want to see a movie fail. But yeah, man, I mean, they were bad. And people caught wind they were bad. And rightfully so. A lot of people stayed away from it. And sorry, I mean, I don't like to see any movie fail, but you make your bed. You make these bad movies, you got no one to blame. Let's see. And the final question of the day, then we're going to wrap it up so I can get my voice a rest here, comes to us from Alba Bradford, who writes, Happy New Year. Worst trilogy ever, 50 Shades. Oh, no doubt. Yeah, there's not even a competition. There's no discussion needs to be involved. The worst trilogy is absolutely 50 Shades. They gone from the best one, which is, I believe, the first 50 Shades. Here's the funny thing. See, the first 50 Shades movie, I just thought was quite bad. I didn't think it was like the worst movie of the year, though. You know what I mean? The first 50 Shades was not good. It was quite bad. But I found, because I was a little bit late to the game watching the first 50 Shades. I saw it like 4 weeks after it came out. everybody like talking about worst movie of the year, and I didn't think it was as bad as most people made it out to be. Still quite bad, but not quite that bad. But oh my God, number 2 and number 3, forget about it. Like beyond lower than the hole you would dig in the woods that you squat over and crap in and bury it again. It was lower than that. And so, yeah, I don't think there's much debating here that it was the worst trilogy ever. I'm not going to debate that much at all. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Thanks for being here, guys. Listen, don't forget, on tomorrow's Open Mic, and we are just doing open mics while I'm here, next Monday, a week from today, me and Robert Meyer Burnett will be back in studio doing the John Campea show. But tomorrow, another live stream here from the Campea House, and it's going to be the John Campea Awards, also known as the Filthies. We're going to be handing out our awards for the Filthies: Best Actor, Best Actress, Supporting Actor, Supporting Actress, Best Film, Best Director. Giving all those out tomorrow. Make sure you tune in and join me for that. And then I believe the next day I will do my most anticipated films of 2019. So that's where I'll go from there. All right, guys. Thanks so much for being here. Again, my apologies for 2 things. One, my voice. It isn't great, and I'm coughing and drinking all the time. Try to keep it suppressed. And I know there have been some streaming issues with this thing, but hey, it's the best I can do being here in Canada. It's the fastest internet we can get and the most solid internet we can get. But hey, at least we're making it through the whole show, right? Anyway, special thank you to all you guys for being here. I hope your head's not too hungover from last night's New Year's Eve festivities. Have a great day today, guys. Thank you so much for being here. All my gratitude. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.